Today you're going to learn how to count atoms. This will prep us for balancing chemical equations. So here you have, remember an atom starts with a capital letter, so here you have francium and chlorine, magnesium, bromine, aluminum, sulfur, chromium, and oxygen. So basically you're going to just count how many. If there's nothing after them, there's a 1. So we got to list our atoms first: francium, chlorine, magnesium, bromine, aluminum, sulfur, chromium, oxygen. List our atoms. So as you can see here, we have 1 francium, 1 chlorine, because there's nothing after those. Magnesium, nothing after it, so 1. 2 after bromine, so 2. Aluminum has 2, because there's a 2 after it. Sulfur has 3, because there's a 3 after it. Chromium has 2, and oxygen has 5. Now let's look at it a little bit more complex. This is what we call a polyatomic ion. Both of these here, anything that's 2 or more atoms, so 2 or more atoms acting as a unit, 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 2 or more, in this case 3 atoms acting as a unit. So what we're going to do is when we have a set of parentheses, you're going to distribute or multiply backwards through just the parentheses. So once you get to the opening parentheses, when you have what we call a subscript here, you will stop counting or carrying through that number. So again, you have a set of parentheses and a number followed. The number gets distributed or multiplied through backwards through the atoms. So here we have S, R, O, and H listing our atoms. We have N, H, A, S, O. We have over here we have S, C, C, and O. And the atoms listed here are C, U, C, H, and O. So now let's count. Remember, we're going to distribute or multiply backwards through the parentheses, stopping when we get to the beginning of the parentheses. So here we have 1 SR because there's a 1 after it. We have 2 O's because it's going to multiply through. There's a 1 here and a 1 here, even though we don't see it. So 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 1 is 2. Here we have a set of parentheses with a 3 followed, so we're going to multiply backwards through. So this is going to be 4 times 3, or 3 times 4, I should say, 3 times 4, which is how I got 12. And nitrogen is 3 times 1 because there's nothing here, so we assume a 1. 3 times 1 is 3. AS, nothing after it, so 1. O, 3 after the O, so 3 oxygens. Again, here this 2 is going to go with this, so that's 2. This 3, because it's outside the parentheses, goes to both the stuff inside. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 3 is 9. Example 8, we have this 3 that goes with copper, and then we have this 2 outside a set of parentheses, so it gets distributed all the way through the stuff inside the parentheses. So 6 times 2 is 12 for carbon. 2 times 5 is 10 for hydrogen, and 4 times 2 is 14 for oxygen. Continuing on. This time we're going to balance them by polyatomic ions. Okay, remember what a polyatomic ion is: 2 or more pieces acting as a unit. Okay, so I'm kind of pointing to those here. I'll kind of move my mouse around there so you can see those. We're going to separate them now. If we have a polyatomic ion, we're going to treat it as a unit this time. So a little different than last time. We have 2 methods of counting when we get to balancing here shortly. So if there's a poly, we're going to put it as a unit over to the side. So SR is not poly, but OH is poly, 2 or more atoms. Even though there's no subscript numbers, this is 2 or more atoms, and it is a polyatomic. NH4 is a poly acting as a unit. ASO3 is a unit. C is not a poly, but CO3 is poly. Cu is not poly, but C6H5O7 is polyatomic. So we're going to do a very similar thing, except for instead of distributing through, we're going to count how many are in the parentheses set for polys. So this 2 would count towards this. This 3 counts for those, this 3 for this piece only, and this 2 for this piece only. So I have 1 SR and 2 OH groups. I have 3 NH4 groups and 1 ASO3 group. I have 2 SC groups and 3 CO3 groups. I have 1 CU atom and 2 C6H5O7 polyatomics or groups. All right, next we're going to learn about having a coefficient in front. When we balance equations, we will be putting numbers in front of formulas and compounds. The numbers will go out in front like this, big numbers, not superscript, not subscript, just the same size as the formula. So now we're going to practice learning this. What happens here is this gets distributed through forward, the whole piece. It stops when it gets to a plus sign or an arrow. That will make a little more sense later, but for now, just know that whatever it's in front of it gets multiplied through. So this is 3 in front. First we're going to list our pieces. So we have FR and CL, FR and CL. We're doing this by atoms, not polyatomics. There are none anyway on here. Mg, Br, Al and S, and Cr and O. So I listed all the atoms. There were no polyatomics to worry about. You can count formulas by either polyatomics, if there are some, or everything by atoms. So either all atoms, or you can do atoms and polyatomics. In this case, we're doing all atoms. So let's see what we got with that 3 in front and 2 and 4 and 2 in front. So because this 3 is in front, we know there's 1 and 1 originally, so there's 3. This 2 is in front, it gets distributed gets distributed through as 4. This is going to be a little more difficult because remember that this goes this way, so there's 2 B's and 6 O's, but this 2 in front. So there's 2 B's times this 2 in front, so that's how I got the 4. There's 6 O's from this piece, but there's 2, so that's how I got 12. Here we have a 4 in front, so we normally would have 2, 3, and 12. Here we have 2 times 4, which is 8. Again, it's going to go through. And then remember that this 3 went through this way, so that was 3 sulfurs, but this 4 goes through this way, so that's 12 sulfurs. Remember that this 3 goes through just this piece, giving us 12 oxygens, but the 4 in front says whatever I have in this piece times the number in front gets me 48. You may need to listen to this piece again to understand all this, so rewind if necessary. Here we have, distributing this 2 through, we have Cr, which is 4, and 2 times 5, 10 oxygens. Look at and 15 again, and make sure you understand. It may be necessary for you to think about it without the 2 and the 4 in front, and then you know that whatever you get without the 2 and the 4 in front, you're going to multiply all those numbers through by a 2. Okay, so now we're going to do that same thing with the coefficients of 3, 2, 3, and 4 in front of these, but instead of doing atoms, we're going to do atoms and polyatomics. So if we have any polyatomics present, then we're going to treat them as units instead of atoms. That same policy will apply where you'll multiply the 3 through. So here you have 3 SRs and 6 OHs. Okay, you originally had 3 NH4s, but with this 2 in front, now you have 6. And you originally had ASO3, 1 of those, but because of the 2 in front, you have 2. You originally had 2 SCs because of the 3 in front, now you have 6. You originally had CO3, 3 CO3s, because of the 3 in front, you're going to get 9. You originally had 3 CUs, with this 4 in front, you're going to get 12. You originally had 2 C2H5O7s, but with the 4 in front, you're going to get 8. Again, you may need to pause and re-listen to this portion of the video to understand this. You will be having assessment over this shortly. All right, based on your favorite month of the year, try one of these on your own notebook paper, and then pause, and then go to the next slide to check your answer once you've completed it on your notebook paper. Okay, hopefully you paused, and here you can check your answer. If you didn't get your answer right, I would go back a slide and try a different option. If you still struggle with this after a second try, please send me an email or get on during my office hours. Now try this one based on your favorite Disney character that's listed. Pause now and then go on after you try it and check your answer. If you got the correct answer, please proceed. If not, go back and try a different one. Based on your second favorite month of the year, try one of these. You're going to count by atoms, just atoms. Pause, and then check your answer. If you didn't get it correct, I would suggest that you go back over the notes and try again. Again, email me or get on my office hours if you're struggling with this skill. Based on your second favorite Disney character, try one of these. Pause this video and then check your answer. Did you get it right? If you didn't, go back and try again. Again, if you are struggling with any of these concepts, please do not hesitate to email me or get on my office hours. Let's have a chat.